As a Sixers fan, depth has kind of made us second-round exits every year, and I think that'll be the issue with Minnesota this year is that their depth is gonna hold them back.
That's a fair point there. Playing with them on that said game that I'm not allowed to mention because FCC, yeah, whenever I get to their bench, it's definitely a drop-off.
Yeah.
At 8, I have the Utah Jazz. Now, for me, I don't think they're a good team, but they're not a bad team. Like, I just think this year there will be other teams that are going to do better than them in different ways.
At 8, I have the Mavericks. As much as I love Luka, I think Christian Wood was a really good signing. He had 16 straight points in their opener, which was really impressive. I think they need to be starting him, though. I don't understand why they're not starting him over JaVale McGee.
Shaqtin' a full MVP.
Yeah, he really, yeah. But I do think they have more talent than they're given credit for. Dorian Finney-Smith is a really good, versatile defender. Maxi Kleber is probably one of the top 2 or 3 shooting forward in the NBA. He's a knockdown shooter. And they have Spencer Dinwiddie, who was electric in the playoffs as well. But I just don't think they have enough depth to really contend. They do have Jaden Hardy, who's a rookie I'm interested in. Got drafted a lot later than I thought he would, but I think Luka's going to carry them to the play-in, but I definitely can see them winning a play-in game and then, making a first-round competitive series with how good Luka's been.
Yeah, that's another hot take, having the Mavs there again, too. Moving on to my 7th seed, I have the T-Wolves here, the Timberwolves, whatever you want to call it. Depth is definitely their issue. I think their starting 5 is rock solid, besides maybe Jaden McDaniels. Just Rudy Gobert being the indestructible force he is down low, having Cat there for the outside shooting, Anthony Edwards as the slasher, and D'Lo kind of the playmaker and kind of the all-around offensive juggernaut. I just think that they're another team on the up-and-coming. I think Naz Reid isn't terrible either. They got Taurean Prince off the bench as well.
Wendell Moore from Duke.
They also have, Bryn Forbes, Bucks legend, outscored Jimmy Butler in that series against the Heat 2 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, David.
So this is going to be my hot take. I have the Suns at 7. I think they're going to take a pretty big step back. Chris Paul, as much as I love Chris Paul, he hasn't looked very good in the first couple games of the season. I think a lot of Devin Booker's success comes from high usage rate and isolation, and teams kind of figured that out. The Mavs literally guarded him. The Mavs literally threw double teams at him almost every possession in the playoffs, and he doesn't handle double teams well. I don't think DeAndre Ayton's that guy. I think he's solid, but I don't think he could be the 3rd best guy in a championship team. I think he's off the team by the end of the season. The chemistry there is just kind of shot. And the supporting cast, besides for Bridges and Cam Johnson, just isn't as good as it was last year. I think the Suns take a huge step down.
At 7, I have the Lakers. Here's the thing. LeBron James is kind of old. Anthony Davis, I have a feeling is going to get hurt again.
Yep.
They're just so big of a team. Like, I don't know. I have a feeling that they're going to make it into the play-in tournament and then lose either to the Suns or Warriors. That's my prediction. Or, I hope they lose in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that you could never root for them last week.
I hope they lose in the play-in tournament. They annoy me so much when they, get in the playoffs. It just annoys me for some reason.
I got Denver at number 7. Jokic, no one wants to talk about it. The media is quiet about it, but Jokic struggled last game. I think he's going to struggle a lot this season. I don't think Jokic is that good. I think he's one of the worst back-to-back MVPs of all time.
Well, there aren't very many of them, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know, but still, I'm not a big Jokic guy.
You're gonna hit my number 1 then.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see them better than the other teams I have above them, too, so.
I got the Pelicans here. I'm excited to see a healthy Zion Williamson back with McCollum and Brandon Ingram. I think they have a pretty exciting big 3 that they built there, and I think they can get to the 7th seed, win the play-in tournament, and I'm excited to just watch them this year. I think they could surprise some people and like be really fun. I think their ceiling could maybe be like a 5 seed.
Yeah, they could make some noise for sure. So moving on, we're going to have to move through these a little quicker, unfortunately, due to time constraints yet again. But my 6th seed, I have the Suns, so that take wasn't as hot
Okay.
as you thought
Makes
it
you
was.
feel a little better about
I think
that.
there's a lot of dysfunction there just with the whole DeAndre Ayton
Chemistry
saga.
is just shot.
Yeah. Jake Crowder doesn't want to be there either. Their depth is
Yeah,
a little
he's
hit
gonna get
just
traded.
by that. I mean, I think Sonic the Hedgehog is a decent backup point guard. That's what Flight Reacts calls him. Shout out Flight if you're listening. Flight team, stand up. All right, Austin, what are your thoughts on the 6th seed?
This is where I got the T-Wolves. I think they made some really good improvements, obviously, with getting Rudy Gobert. It'll be fun to see him and Kat together. But I think they could be. I have them as like a regular season team, like where you see them, they're gonna make some noise in the regular season, get in the playoffs, and then lose pretty easily.
They're
in
very
the playoffs,
prone
in
to
my opinion.
blowing big leads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that Grizzlies series
Last
annoyed
year,
me so
yeah.
much.
So I'm gonna have the T-Wolves here again.
I got the Lakers actually. Right now, they're not looking too hot with the shooting, but I do think they're not going to just sit around. They're not going to waste LeBron. I think they will go after a Bradley Beal or maybe Damian Lillard if they want, but they're going to have to trade for one of those two if they want to be even in the consideration.
I have the Clippers. So something I did not know until I watched the Clippers game. Apparently Kawhi Leonard is back from injury,
He is.
which I didn't know until a couple of days ago. So I think with him, they're gonna do much better than they did last season.
For my number 6, I also have the Timberwolves. I agree that their depth isn't the greatest, but I think that Gobert just solved so many of their problems defensively. They were one of the worst post-defensive teams in the NBA last year, and getting Gobert really can let Kat play his true position of power forward. I think with D'Lo and Edwards, you have a really nice backcourt with a lot of passing and a lot of scoring. And I think depth will be an issue in the playoffs, but they'll be fine for the regular season. I have them at 6.
Kind of going off that whole regular season team idea.
Yeah.
So my 5 seed, I have the Dallas Mavericks here. I think Luka is just too good not to kind of carry this team, backpack them a little bit. I think Christian Wood is a really solid acquisition as well. Bucks legend, by the way. Shout out Christian Wood.
I forgot he was on the Bucks.
Played about 3 minutes for us. All the fans wanted him to play more, and we just never played him. Yep, I'll leave it at that. Austin.
My 5 seed, I have the Suns here. So a seed or two higher than you guys, but I also just see the chemistry that just isn't there in Phoenix right now. Chris Paul got a year older this year, and I think he could possibly take a slight step down. Devin Booker, obviously he'll win them some games for sure. But with Jay Crowder, most likely probably going to get traded because he just doesn't want to be there. A lot of the chemistry there it doesn't look like they're having as much fun as they did the previous 2 years.
Yeah, I also have the Suns at 5, pretty much for what he said. Yeah.
I have the Grizzlies at 5. Now, I think they're an okay team. They are pretty good. I think they'll do good, maybe just not great. That's why I have them at 5.
I also have the Grizzlies at 5, and I have them over the I have them under the Pelicans for the sheer fact that Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to miss 6 months, I think it's like 4 to 6 months or something. And he was really a difference maker in the playoffs. He's a really good defensive center. With Jaren Jackson Jr., I think that they could potentially be a top 3 team. John Moran is playing at an MVP level right now. He's got to be in the MVP category. But outside of him, you have guys like Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane, but you don't have any proven, like 20 points per game established scores.
They also have Steven Adams, if I'm not mistaken.
He's washed in my opinion. They barely played him in the playoffs last year for a reason. With Jaren Jackson Jr., I have them at maybe at the top 4 seed, but right now without him, their defense is a little lackluster, so I'm gonna have to put them at 5.
At my 4, I have the Denver Nuggets. I think with Jamal Murray coming back and the 10 games they'll get out of Michael Porter Jr. this year, as per usual. I think they've always been kind of a sleeper team for me. I think they can do that again this year. Not much more said, I guess. Just to keep things short.
Yeah.
Either one of you, go
Okay.
ahead.
I'll go
Go
for
for
it.
it.
Okay. I also got the Nuggets here to agree with you. Jamal Murray being back is huge for them. We'll see if he can replicate what he did in the bubble a couple years ago. And obviously, Joker is a back-to-back MVP. Whether Brian likes to agree with that or not, but I think he's still got to be a top 5 player in the NBA.
I think he's just a salty Philly fan that Embiid didn't win it last year.
That might be it. But I got the Nuggets at 4.
At 4, I got the Clippers. Obviously, you got Kawhi back. He is kind of like day-to-day, though, now. But he's one of the best players. You kind of forget about him because he's so quiet. He's, like, doesn't say much to the media. Also, Paul George, But, like, if this team has to stay healthy, but, like, right now they're, like, too many, like, day-to-day guys and, like, bench players that are, like, hurt. But that's why I got them at 4.
I have the Mavericks at 4. I think they'll do really good this season. One player who they have who I really like is Spencer Dinwiddie. Now, I remember last year when they were in the playoffs, all throughout the playoffs, when they were on TNT, all you would hear Kevin Harlan say is Spencer Dinwiddie, even if he was on the bench. That's all he would say. Now, if he came to Milwaukee, that would be pretty cool. I would like that. But I think he is one of the best players that plays for that team. Like, I don't know, I just really like him. And I think the Mavericks will be in the playoffs this year. Probably, like, semifinals.
I have the Pelicans at 4. I'm very high in the Pelicans this year. I think the trio of I feel like people don't forget how good a healthy Zion is. 27 and like 8 and an All-Star, and him paired with Brandon Ingram, who in my opinion is like a top 5, top 6 small forward. I'd take a healthy Brandon Ingram over a lot of guys in the NBA. And then CJ McCollum, obviously one of the best shot-creating shooting guards. You have Valanciunas. You have Herbert Jones, who was one of the biggest steals of the draft last year, very underrated. Trey Murphy. Yeah, they got a deep roster. Alvarado as well. I think if they can stay healthy, that's the biggest thing. But I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people this year if they can stay healthy.
They're definitely another one of my sleeper teams for this year. So moving on, I'm just going to do my top 3, like really bang, 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 just so we can get to final thoughts. Number 3, I have the Clippers. I think Kawhi coming back is definitely going to help them out and adding John Wall. They don't have a lot of shooting otherwise, though, unfortunately. Number 2, I do have a team that has a lot of shooting, the Golden State Warriors. I think they'll be one of those teams that's more of a playoff team, kind of opposite what the T-Wolves are. They usually kind of turn it on a little bit once the playoffs start, especially in the finals. And number 1, I have the Grizzlies, but that's mainly because I didn't know Jaren Jackson Jr. was going to be out all year.
Yeah.
And I think I might move them down a little bit otherwise.
So my top 3, I was going to say we're about to go back to back to back because I also have the Clippers at 3. They are, in my opinion, the deepest team in the Western Conference. Kawhi and PG, obviously. You have John Wall coming off the bench. Reggie Jackson is, a 18 to 20 points per game guy. You have Robert Covington. You have Ivica Zubac. You have Norman Powell. You have Terrence Mann, who's a playoff bucket. They have so many different guys they can go to. Tyronn Lue, very underrated coach in my opinion. He's in that like A tier of coaches.
Yeah, he's definitely proved himself after
Oh yeah, that
the LeBron debacle.
2 years ago, that playoff run really did a lot for him in my opinion. But yeah, I think it's another team where a lot of these teams are contingent with health, but if those 3 guys can stay healthy, then I think that they have one of the deepest teams in the Western Conference. I have them at 3. Number 2, I have the Warriors as well. I think that the only thing that's stopping me from putting them at 1 is their center. They don't really have anyone at center. Kevon Looney's all right, but he's not going to be able to go up against elite centers in the playoffs. But obviously the tandem of Curry, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, and Poole, the death lineup is enough to make any team scared. And at number 1, I have the Nuggets. I think if the Nuggets would have been healthy last year, then they would have at least pushed the Warriors to maybe 6. I think Jokic is gonna, when his career is done, is gonna be a top 5 center of all time. And he had a historic season last year in terms of his individual accomplishments. And I think now with Jamal and Michael Porter Jr. back, they're going to have enough offense to go around. They got better on defense. They added KCP and Bruce Brown. Bones Highland looks to take a huge step. I don't think anyone's touching them if they can stay healthy. I think the Nuggets are the best team in the West.
For my top three, my top two are my two favorite teams in the West. But at number 3, I have the Suns. Number 2, the Nuggets. And number 1, the Warriors. I think the Suns are going to do very good this year. Maybe not great, but I think they'll do pretty good. The Nuggets, I hope they do a little bit better than they did last year. I still enjoy watching them. I just hope they do a little bit better this season. And for the Warriors, for number 1, I really liked how they did last year. I hope they can repeat that, and hopefully they make it to the finals again.
My top 3 for number 3, I got Memphis. I think John Morant's gonna sneak into or not sneak in. He's gonna be part of the MVP conversations, and I think he's really gonna carry Memphis. Number 2, I got Dallas. I think Luka's a great player or a phenomenal player. I think he's also gonna carry Dallas in that team. But also another random fact: I played the basketball video game against Dorian Finley-Smith in the park, which is kind of fun. But and then my number 1 team is I got Golden State. They're just great shooters. They just got everything going for them right now, and I think they'll look to repeat.
For my top 3, I also have the Grizzlies at 3. Like he said, I think Ja finishes as an MVP finalist this year, and I like the supporting cast around him. Obviously, with no Jaren Jackson Jr., that might hurt them for a while, or a big part, sorry. Number 2, I have the Clippers. I think they're one of the deepest rosters in the NBA, and a healthy Kawhi and PG is one of the top 2 duos in the league. And at number 1, I have the Warriors. They have the best roster in the NBA in my opinion, with Steph, Clay, Draymond, Andrew Wiggins, and Jordan Poole. I think Jordan Poole wins 6th Man of the Year pretty easily this year. And yeah, I think the Warriors are just the best team in the NBA again.
Some good takes there, I feel like. I feel like the Warriors are got to be my finals pick, either them or Boston again, just based on rosters and who I think are the best players in the league. I think the Bucks could be in there too, but moving on really quick, I'm going to do a quick final statement for everybody. Mine would be a big game for the Warhawks this weekend, homecoming weekend against River Falls. Me and Brian will be on the call, but if you can make it out to the Perk and cheer on our Warhawks, it's a do or die game for them. Austin?
Yeah, my final thoughts are I'll be at the game, so go Warhawks, and I'll be rooting for the Phillies this weekend.
Yes, sir.
My last thought is the Sixers, they got to get together. Otherwise, everyone else, the Philly's doing fine. No one really talks about it much, but the Philly Union are actually in the Eastern Conference Finals for the MLS.
Okay.
So it's another sport.
It's a big city.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big sports city right
Philly's
here.
on top right now.
Yep. But yeah, that's what I got.
My final thoughts, happy TNT Tuesday. You have the Mavericks and Pelicans at 6:30 and Warriors and Suns at 9 on TNT.
Yeah, go Warhawks. Obviously a do-or-die game. Going to try to get out there this weekend. Rooting for the Phillies. That World Series is going to be fun. And yeah, shout out to the Bulls for a huge win against the Celtics yesterday.
All right, that wraps up our show here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow again with Nolan Kopidlowski hosting. And have a good night, and thanks for listening.